My personal thoughts on what I think about the Duet Night Abyss beta so far. Let's talk about it. No, I recently went from being a skip Andy and just pumping content to actually starting to reading the stories again. And let me say, I'm very much so enjoying the story for Duet Night Abyss. The only one thing that I would take away from it is that the subtitles sometimes come in delayed or before when they're speaking, or that the audio is just not linking up at all. Sometimes it's just not voice dialogue. I don't know what's going on with that, but the story itself for what it is, just reading it, if you don't mind those small, minor details, it's actually really good in my opinion. Now some takeaways. The bullet jump in this game is kind of weird. As you can see there, the double jump after the initial jump doesn't really continue the momentum there. It actually kind of stunts it, which is actually very bad, especially for the traversal of this game. This looks like a game where you should be able to move very quickly and very fluidly, but that second jump after the initial bullet jump here really doesn't contribute to that fluidity, and it kills the momentum. So rather than gaining speed, more than not, you're going to be frustrated more than anything, kind of like you're being pulled back by a drawstring trying to move forward. Now with the combat in the game, honestly, the melee really does feel good. The only thing that I had to take away from it was that there was no aerial combos. I feel like they kind of missed on the potential there. Could have done a lot more with aerials aside from just doing like a standard slam whenever you do jump, like shown here. Once again, with how these characters are moving, they look like they have a lot of combat potential for aerial moves as well. So them kind of not capitalizing on that, just making it just a basic slam instead of giving us a variant of aerial combos and then a slam if we so choose to hold the button. I just feel like this is potential miss there, but that's a minor thing. Now the gunplay is quite something to talk about. You only hold the right click, so for us FPS players it's kind of weird just doing that, but you'll get used to it. But as you can see here, every time I'm shooting, it's kind of aimbotting. It's a setting to turn that off, don't worry, but that is very weird. It's a
be nice.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about it.
It take you that long to find it? It does.
Some of the guns feel amazing, but this one, like this AR, for one, it doesn't do that much damage. And one thing that I noticed was the transition time from shooting to melee was actually quite long. With how this game moves and the fluidity once again mentioned, I feel like there should be a seamless transition from gun to sword. I feel like they should be able to kind of immediately go into the melee, or at least if they're trying to go for that realism effect, yeah, sure, keep a brief pause. The amount of pause that's in there right now makes it kind of feel like transitioning from gun to sword isn't the play. You're using either or. You're not really trying to be like Devil May Cry with the way you're comboing from the sword to the gunplay. So that's another missed opportunity there. Now slide attack is very nice actually, but here's the thing that I noticed with the slide attack. So the slide doesn't really give you too much momentum off rip, which makes sense. You kind of have to gain momentum to have momentum, but I do notice that sometimes even when you do have momentum and you go into the slide, it'll actually kill that momentum sometimes. So it's kind of finicky gaining the momentum, and then other times you're not gaining the momentum at all. Another thing is with this character specifically, Bernica or Berenice, I'm sorry if I'm saying her name wrong. With her ability, I do notice after you use it, the transition time from her ability to her melee is not immediate. And the reason I bring it up for her specifically is because she kind of has like a dash, which looks like the dash is supposed to transition into a seamless, auto attack basic here. Granted, when you do it on the floor, it does look like it is transitioning smoothly for the most part, but if you do it in the air, there's actually that brief pause right there. As you just seen, you can't really slam immediately after that, which I kind of found weird. It doesn't look like she's taking any extra animations when she's up there. Last thing I want to mention is with the aerial attack. Now this is another one that I kind of find to like, but I kind of dislike at the same time. Now as you can see here, they can actually go pretty decently far whenever they're doing their slam attacks here, but the only thing that I really have to critique on it is I would like to see, I guess, some type of indicator for how far I can go with it, because sometimes it's not going exactly where I want it to. Like even if I'll put my reticle right on the floor, it won't actually go there. It'll either go past it, or when I say just past it, I mean way past it, or it'll go way in front of where I actually put my reticle. I've never played a Choice Matters ARPG. Now what I mean by Choice Matters is it does have like that dice roulette, like Dungeons and Dragons, where you have your charisma, you have your charm, your benefit, your chaos and whatnot, and depending on what you choose will actually influence how the character characters interact with you or how they view you. And they actually tell you this in the tutorial if you pay attention to that. Based off of how you act in the city is how they will actually remember you. And that is something that is quite unique, at least for me, because I have not played too many games that are like that. So seeing that in this open world aesthetic, that is a breath of fresh air. And I would actually like to see more games that do that, because that is something that kind of rewards and punishes you based off of what you do. So that's just something I would love to see more of. With that being said, there is something that will kind of annoy you guys with this dice mechanic. There actually are quests that you just straight up won't be able to do unless you actually meet the stat check, which I actually kind of find quite weird. I do know typically with these type of games, I think, what is it called, Skyrim, with Skyrim, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, do not come after me because I do not know anything about Skyrim. When you do quests, there is options to that influence the outcome, whereas say if I were to do this, right, hit it, oh, I failed, damn, that sucks. Well, now the character's saying, ha, you thought you could run my shellings, whatever, ABC, XYZ. But then if you were to, you know, let's say if I reroll this and I was to get 130, oh, you actually have some good reasoning to you. Here, you can have this, even though it is a memento for my mother. Like, outcomes like that, right? But with Duet Night Abyss, they say completely F that. Despite your good intentions, you monetarily are at a loss for solutions. So you just straight up can't even accept the quest, which is a bummer because look at this. I want this EXP. I want the currency, and this is just like, okay, well, why can't I even accept the quest just because I don't meet the stat check? That's really weird. So that means you really have to play the game in a specific way to make sure you have enough stats in each of your categories to make sure you can at least guarantee you progress smoothly quest wise. And I just find that to be really weird. Just give us the quest even if we don't meet the stat check. Just make it so like the rewards are either reduced or something, like, you know, or at least just so like the difference is, oh, if you meet the stat check or if you meet this stat check, you get like twice the rewards. If you don't, then you still get the base rewards, right? Not just, oh, you don't meet the stat check, you're not doing the quest, brother. What? Now the exploration in this game is an absolute 10 out of 10. I was actually surprised to find out that I could climb on majority of the buildings and go into a lot of the crevices in this game. Now there are some places like this that you actually can't go past, which is, you know, it's a bummer, but a lot of the stuff in this game you can actually climb up above and just interact with. It is amazing. And as you can see here, there's some chests up here, some items you can grab. You do got to make sure your character actually grabs them because they're not just going to go to you when you pick them up. You have to actually make sure you get them. You don't have to actually you don't have to press a button to pick them up, but just make sure you're standing there so it comes to you. But the exploration in this game, I love it. That combined with the movement of the bullet jump, you know, mind you, the second one does kind of give your movement. So if you don't use that and you just use the first one, you're kind of fine here. But the movement combined with the exploration aspect, I really do like this. Once again, for me, this is a little bit of fresh air. As you just noticed, I kind of was testing out if I could use some type of mechanics to make myself kind of float a little bit. When you do the bullet jumps and you shoot, you'll kind of hover in the air. Same thing with reloading. If you do and reload in the air, you'll hover for a little bit. So if you do it right, you can just bullet jump, shoot, hover, reload to keep hovering. Now let's go ahead and talk about progression. Now we do have a synergy system that caps out at 240, which is kind of standard, but let me go ahead and talk about the character EXP real quick. Now let's go ahead and look at this character level 2. If you look at this EXP bar, there's no numbers here. There's no indicator like 0 out of 1,000, you know, 700 out of 1,000. There's no indicator, so I don't actually know how much HP she needs. And if we actually go into here to level her up, we can see the books here and we can see what level is getting her up to, but we don't actually see how much HP she's getting when she uses the combat melody, which is really strange because I can't really gauge what she needs. So although this is a minor thing, this is also a very huge thing. I don't want to have to go into a dungeon because in dungeons you could actually farm them to get EXP, kind of like Warframe versus actually leveling them up with your currency. But I don't know if I have to do 5 runs. I don't know if I have to do 7 runs, 10 runs, 2 runs. So that's weird here. We need to know exactly how much EXP we're going to get from 1 to 20. Them not having that EXP gauge is very weird, and I do hope to see that implemented when the game does fully release. Now let's actually talk about the dungeons here and further progression. Now if we take a look at our commissions here, all of them are actually different in cost, and I find it to be really weird. Why is it not consistent all around the board? Why do some cost more than others? 35 is kind of an odd number. 20 is also an odd number. I wouldn't mind that either, but it's just fluctuating. There's no consistency there, right? And then if we actually go to our covert commissions, which is in easier words, it's similar to Warframe where you get these pieces and then you have to do a run to open up those pieces to get a chance to get other pieces. First Ascent also has a system like this, but as you can see, this is what we can get from the neutral one. These are all of the things that we can get. Granted, after you do a stage, it's an RNG drop of which one does drop if you were to go ahead and run a covert commission. Now with the covert commissions, they do also have some kind of wild cost as well. This one costs 80. The relocation explosion costs 100. This capture costs 100. This termination costs 120. I'm thinking orders just cost 120. Thinking the captures cost 100, and then the chaos cost 80. The thing that I'm really getting at here is 240 synergy is nowhere near enough. This cap either needs to be damn near tripled, or like the cost needs to be reduced, because these are some insane costs here, right? Say if you wanted to come in and start farming, guess what? You do 2 termination runs, you're done for the day. Like you log on the game, you did 10 minutes of a covert commission, and you're just done. Right? Granted, you can use currency to spend, but look, there's a daily cap for 1, and then 2, it doesn't even fill up the gates completely. You're only getting 60 for 40. And I'm pretty sure this is gonna have one of those systems where as you keep buying the daily cap, it's going to keep increasing the amount that you use for 60 energy. That is insane to me. Now, if we look down here, it says the cap is 999, but it caps at 240 here. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. That's probably over cap. Like you can keep filling it up to 999, but this cap as it is at 240, no, it needs to be increased by double, triple the amount, because this is basically going to be the end game farming here, doing your coverts and then farming for the demon hedges. But demon hedges don't cost energy, so that doesn't matter. But like the coverts are really is going to be what the end game farming there is. So if we can't really do that reliably, because we need 120, we need 80, we need 100 per run, how are we going to do this? Because the whole point of doing these is so that you can open up your neutral. They're called secret letters. So yeah, with the secret letters, this is the only way to really open them. You can't go to your house and do open them. Let's go to our house real quick. Tap, it's called the sanctuary. Let's go ahead and go there and check, because you also have a system where you can create weapons at a set interval and timing. Yeah, so we're looking here. Yeah, there's no way to open up those secret letters. You have to do it through that one option. So that's really gimping progression here. And honestly, I want to see the cap increase. That's all there is to it. The cap is just too low for farming in general. I'm not really sure what they were expecting here. You can't really farm at all given the very low cap that they gave us. So that was kind of can't really farm all day, right? So that's kind of left to be desired there. I really do hope that they tweak with that a little bit, or at least give it some thought to increasing that cap. Side note here, the music is amazing. I am in love with this music. I have not actually sat down and listened to a soundtrack for a game in a very long time. The soundtrack for this game, I could fall asleep to this. It is very beautiful. Chef's kiss. I appreciate the Duet Night Abyss team for having such good symphony and orchestral background OST. It is amazing. This is the second closed beta. You would kind of assume, oh, this game's kind of around the corner, but like with the current problems or like the gimmicks, doesn't really feel like it's too polished. Yes, I do agree to some degree. At the same time, all that boils down to at the end of the day is, are you gonna have fun with it? Are you gonna be a pumper, or are you gonna be a story enjoyer? If you're gonna play the game purely for the story, then I would highly recommend, because like I said, I do enjoy that story very much. Now, the movement does annoy me quite a bit, so I really hope that they do something with that, because even if it's not too big of a deal, a lot of people will just strictly not play the game just because of that. So it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, especially if they want the game to succeed. You know, it's just the reality of the thing. People can't move the way that they want to move, or if they can't move fluidly, especially, they're gonna be like, oh, it's 2025, bro, you can't get your game to move like that. Like, what are we doing? Like, they're just going to shit on the game, right? But for me, I love the game for what it is. This will be the only video for now that I'm going to be making about Duet Night Abyss, because I'm not going to be going over builds, where to find all these chests and all that. I've seen how much time it takes to do that, and it's not for me, because let's just be real, that's just a lot of research and that documentation and Word docking and Excel. I'm not doing all that. I'm lazy. All right, somebody else can do that. But that's going to be it for me, guys. Go on and get out of here.